In most cases, to add interactivity to your application, it is enough to use standard actions in response to a button click. But sometimes you need something more complicated than doing something by clicking. Let's take a look at a joke test where you want to test the knowledge of colors. We will introduce the student to the colors, and then we'll ask him a few questions to evaluate the results of the learning. Let's see how it works.
No, you are wrong. Yes, you are right. Yes, you are right. No, you are wrong. Yes, you are right.
In this example, you can't do anything without using variables. Let's see how it works. Let's skip the information pages and look at the knowledge test pages. Each survey contains almost the same set of elements: the question and controls for choosing an answer. Controls can be different. In this case, it's several radio buttons. 2 prepared in advance hidden message panels for correct and incorrect answer. Next, add a Boolean variable to the page. Name it is correct and set the value of the variable as an expression defining the correct answer. In this case, the correct answer is when the gray radio button is selected, i.e., the value of the check state internal variable of the gray object is 1. Now let's go to the check answer button and add an action in response to the mouse click event. We need the condition field to set an additional condition for triggering the event. We'll select our isCorrect variable as a condition. Thus, our event will be triggered when the button is pressed, only if the value of the isCorrect variable is true, i.e., the gray radio button is selected. Add the Show Hide Objects action and show the correct panel. Plus, add one more action, and as an event condition, set the name isCorrect variable, but with negation, an exclamation mark before the variable name. Thus, this event will be triggered when the button is pressed, only if the value of the isCorrect variable is false, i.e., the gray radio button is not selected. Add the Show Hide Objects action and show the incorrect panel. Start the page test. The correct panel appears if the answer is correct. Otherwise, the incorrect panel appears. It remains to hide the check answer button if the answer is correct, so that you can proceed to the next test. Start the page test. Done. In the course of testing, we still need to count the number of errors. For this, we added one more numeric variable, total_errors, to the main window level using the context menu. If the answer is not correct, we need to increase the value of the total_errors variable. Let's do that. To do this, use the conditional event again and use the change variable action. Now let's show the current value of the total_errors variable. To do this, add a simple text object to the page, format the text, and go to the Variables section on the Properties panel. Let's select the internal variable text and set an expression for it using the total_errors variable. The expression value will be calculated and displayed as text in runtime mode. Start the page test to see how the error counter changes when the answer is not correct. But what if we want to display in red the number of errors if there are more than 0? Let's use variables again. Add an additional active state to our text using the Properties section and set the active state to red. Let's go to the Variables section, select the active internal variable, and set the expression total errors greater than 0. Now our object will be in the active state, which turns red, when the value of total_errors variable is greater than 0. Run the page test and see how the text color changes, depending on the number of incorrect answers. It's good to see also the number of attempts to solve the current test. By analogy with the global error counter, add a numeric variable called attempt to the page, add an object to display the value of this variable, and add an action to change the attempt variable in case of an incorrect answer. We see how the attempt number and the global number of errors change. Let's take a look at the next quiz page. Several checkboxes are used as controls on it. the expression for the isCorrect variable looks different. The correct answer is when two checkboxes are on, blue and gray, and two are off, red and green. Everything else is configured in the same way as on the previous page. Start the page test. The next page uses the Edit Box object to enter the answer. Accordingly, the expression for the isCorrect variable looks different. Everything else is configured in the same way as on the previous page. Start the page test. It remains to go to the result page, calculate, and display the final result. Add the numeric variable called %, and define the calculation formula as we do on a calculator. And then we will use the already known technique to display the result using the text internal variable of the simple text object. Start the page test. Done. As you can see, using variables expands the capabilities of your application and allows much more than you might imagine.